it's hard to put your finger on exactly what it was that went wrong. But I mean, it's a £250 million game. Have a go, have a real go. Go down fighting. There just didn't seem to be any of that. There was no real feeling at any point in the game where Leeds had a huge sustained amount of pressure where you thought they were going to get the goal. And as much as, obviously we're all sat there willing them to get the goal. But to lose a game like that 1-0 was hugely disappointing. And I think if you put it down, you just say, oh, well, it was just one of them days. But I mean, it was one hell of a day to have one of them days.
Pete, in terms of big stars potentially leaving the club, who is most likely to go out of that list of real top talent actually that is at the club currently?
Yeah, the one most likely to leave would be Somerville. I think, again, had a disappointment day in the final against Southampton. I was still surprised that Daniel Farke did hook him so early, considering they needed a goal, but it was a brave decision. The gamble didn't pay off, but Somerville's definitely shown what he can do. He had a great season in Championship Player of the Year, so many goals and assists as well. So there's been widespread interest in the Dutchman for quite a few years now. The last couple of transfer windows, Leeds batted off a few bids for him and were able to keep him. But yeah, I think it'll be almost near impossible to keep him now. We know Leeds do need money coming in from player sales. We did a story last weekend that Leeds need £150 million in player sales, which is a lot of money. So they're going to be pretty susceptible to offers for all their top players. I think obviously the chairman's come out and admitted that you can't rule anything out that for player departures. So yeah, Somerville for me will be probably the most in demand. There'll be interest in Archie Gray, but I'm sure Leeds will be hoping, still being such a young age, that he might decide to stay at the club for at least another year and see how they go in a promotion bid next year. If they're able to mount another one, then I think Wilfred Gnonto, there'll be interest in the Italian as well, probably from teams in Serie A and also across Europe as well. And Jorginho Rutter, he's had a good season for Leeds this year. Obviously, he was a big signing from Germany, from Hoffenheim when they did sign him. But I think there'll be a lot of clubs looking at him as well. So yeah, it's sort of batten down the hatches at Elland Road right now because there will be a mass exodus. There's no doubt about that. There'll be players who will leave as Leeds want to try and balance these books, and then they're going to have to see what funds are available to try and strengthen the squad for Daniel Farke to try and mount another promotion bid as well. And again, the finances mean that the Joe Rodon deal, which probably looked like an almost certainty to happen if they were promoted, that could be put on the back burner as well. So yeah, I'd say there'll be at least 5 or 6 high-profile departures from Elland Road this summer.
Paul, where do the club look to strengthen then going in? If there are going to be so many exits, are they going to try and buy from the Championship, or they look to free agents and loans? How do they keep the squad intact going into next season to ensure that they can push for playoffs and automatic promotion again?
They won't keep the squad intact. It's a simple fact. You listen to the chairman the other morning, you listen to his statement backing the manager, which was good. It was nice to hear. I think the manager's done a decent job this year, barring a couple of results, a couple of points here and there, a couple of indifferent results during the season. They could have actually gone up automatically. They didn't get it over the line, but we know about the financial situation that the club's in. We know about the losses that they've recorded, and we also know about the unpaid transfer fees, which is going to be a problem. FFP and PSR are going to become an issue, and the fact that he said that there are going to have to be trade-ins, there are going to have to be deals, and he actually name-checked Archie Gray in that statement when he was saying it, which will be worrying for Leeds fans because he's a player that they'll be key to keep hold of. So if you're looking at the likes of Archie Gray, Gnonto, Somerville potentially leaving, Rodon leaving. The Yorkshire Evening Post up here did an article yesterday, which I obviously sent you guys on the WhatsApp group, and they're reporting that at least 20 players could leave Elland Road this summer. And I mean, you look at the likes of Cody Drama, Stuart Dallas, obviously he's going to be moving to the coaching staff, Poveda, Rodon, Byron, Shackleton, Anthony, Connor Roberts, Luke Ayling, Liam Cooper. Contracts coming to an end, players' loan deals coming to an end. It's going to be a really key summer for Leeds to rebuild, because I think the first thing is they're going to have to cut their cloth accordingly, but actually they're going to have to take stock of what they're going to leave, what they're going to lose, how much they're going to bring into the club, the players out on loan, what they can get for those type of players, and it's about seeing what's going out before you know what's going to be coming in. It's hard to say what positions that they're going to need because you don't know what players are going to be around. It's going to be a very difficult summer for Daniel Farke balancing the squad. That there's going to be a lot of outgoings and there's going to be a lot of incomers. I think it'd be a very, very different squad that starts next season than the one that we're seeing at the moment. I've said before, I think the squad that they've got now was stronger than the one that fell out of the Premier League, and it had the best opportunity to go into the Premier League. But to lose a number of those players to then have to rebuild the scouting network, the recruitment is going to have to be very, very clever to fall in line with the financial rules and the losses and everything that they've recorded. It's going to be a really tough summer for Leeds recruitment-wise to keep as many of that squad together as they can, but also balance letting one or two of the bigger names go for big money, which helps them rebuild in other areas. And like I say, it's hard to say what areas they're going to need in without knowing who's going to leave the club. If there's as many as 20 plus players potentially could go.
Pete, I mean, one thing to pull up in there that Paul spoke about, that FFP PSR concern. How much of a worry is that for the club, the reality of sales? And actually, for them specifically, what could that mean? Could it lead to a points deduction? Could it be a transfer embargo? Where could that sanction potentially lie if they are to be sanctioned?
Yeah, obviously it's worrying times for Leeds. It is a necessity to sell players. The chairman's been quite open and honest about that trading, so he knows they have to get the books in place and balance them, really, because otherwise they could find themselves breaching PSR and FFP, and that's the last thing Leeds United want right now, is a points deduction to go on top of potentially losing your best players as well. That would be a real double whammy for everybody connected with the club if that happens. I'm sure they've had plans in place for whatever happened on Sunday, whether they won promotion or they didn't win promotion. So there'll be two lists of transfer targets, I'm sure, one for the Premier League, one for the Championship. But as like Paul says, everything's pretty uncertain at Elland Road right now until they know which players are going to be leaving and how much transfer fees they do get for those players. So obviously Leeds will try and get as much as they possibly can. But as I said, they need to get that money into the club, and they've got money still to pay on outstanding transfer fees as well for all the players that they've signed in recent times as well. So they've got to cover all that as well. I think that works at around 70 million. I think they need to pay by a certain date as well. So yeah, in the background, it's worrying that they could be in breach of PSR and FFP regulations, but I'm sure they'll be working overtime right now to try and generate some of that money before the June 30th deadline of when they have to file their accounts as well. So yeah, it's going to be a real busy time at Elland Road. And as I said, I think you'll probably see a couple of early departures from the club before that deadline, just so Leeds can get some money in and try and use it to balance the books, because, as I said, it's looking like a long, hard season next season for Daniel Farke. He's going to have his work cut out to try and get that squad to try and mount another promotion bid, because you've got the three clubs coming down from the Premier League who have got an immediate advantage over the rest of the Championship with the parachute payments and everything else. So it just makes it harder and harder the longer you're in that Championship to get back out of it.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.